Ooh, that camera angle's odd. Let's spin the spindly things then. Let's do that. Meanwhile, in another world, let's play something.
Everything is turning black. Another minion on my back. A fallen puppet, I don't care. Only cross me if you dare. Everything is down. No fancy adjectives, just no candy coating, is just down. No metaphors, it's simply down. My strings are cut and it's not fair. My lungs heave emptiness, not air. Without a shove I have no push. A fucking corpse, a burning bush. Everything is down. No fancy adjectives, just down. No candy coating, is just down.
Well, good evening. I will be your host for this next time, whatever this is. Let's switch cameras real quick because I want to say hi to everybody. So, hello everyone out there in the world. I decided to wear my suit, my black and white suit. This is my black and white suit. This is the one that I was painting downstairs and I was going to do a photo shoot with, but it seems more apropos for tonight. So that was indeed down. Hold on. Could use a little more volume for myself. So yeah, that was down. And, crap, of course, I forgot my notes. Hold on. I'll be right back. Don't leave. And since it's 8:01 and everyone's probably just joining, I'll play that again. Sorry, you get to hear a song twice.
Everything is turning black. Another minion on my back. A fallen puppet, I don't care. Only cross me if you dare. Everything is down. No fancy adjectives, just no candy coating, is just down. No metaphors, it's simply down. My strings are cut and it's not fair. My lungs heave emptiness, not air. Without a shove I have no push. A fucking corpse, a burning bush. Everything is down.
Okay. Hi. I'm back. Sorry. I had to get my notes because there's so much to talk about. So first of all, hi everyone. How are you? How is your city faring tonight? Anyone want to talk about that? How is your city doing? Mine is relatively peaceful tonight. I have not heard sirens, and it looks like everything is winding down to be a bit more peaceful. But you know, it's been a bit strange. It's been a strange week. I really wasn't going to do a stream this week. You know that, right? I really thought that I was going to just do media blackout all the way and not do anything. But I changed my mind for several reasons. The first reason, which I'm going to bring up right now and get it out of the way and remember to hold my mic, is that I feel like no one tells me what to do. And that's the way it should be. No one should tell you what to do or should tell me what to do. So when the entire media says that I shouldn't do a media blackout. So been thinking a lot about polarizations. Black and white, brown, yellow, every color you can imagine has got a story to tell, and I'm sure about it. So I want to get one disclaimer out of the way, because I'm a very passionate person, and I may say some things that come out wrong or may come out insensitive. If they do, if I insult you in any way, whether it's your political party, race, religion, any of those things, I'm not meaning to do that. So if I do, you're free to comment and point out the time that I said it, and then I'll address it in case I, say something that I shouldn't. But it's just my nature to just speak from here, so sometimes it'll come out wrong, and I'm sorry. So yes, that was down. It came off of this really weird EP that we put out, and that EP actually had a hit on it that everyone and their mother told me was a hit. And number one, because of its opening line, I refused to make it a hit, meaning I didn't push that song, I didn't make it a single, I didn't do remixes, nothing of the sort, because of just the opening line. But a lot of people would call me up and say, that song's a hit, that song's a hit. And I just didn't think so. Because I was making a commentary about the current hip-hop scene at the time. But not just that. I was actually looking at pop music in general. And it goes back to that polarization thing. So we'll get into that more, but I want to play this song real quick. I think that's the next one I've got queued up. I'm not sure. Hold on. By George, it is. I've got it right. In case you don't know, my brother was in the band for a while, and he was doing beatboxing. And it wasn't an accident that we actually had him do that all the time. My brother actually was the big hip-hop head in the band, and he got me into it more than I wanted to admit. In the early days, of course, I'll honestly say I did not like hip-hop. I wasn't a fan. But there was a time when it started to infiltrate my thinking, and it does make some appearances. Right, even by the second album, you can hear some beats that are more reminiscent of hip-hop, and I definitely can say that it's an influence. So I'm going to reveal a few little interesting secrets tonight, and after this, I'll come back and I'll say hi to you all. I'm being goofy, I'm sorry. But what do you expect? I'm wearing a black and white suit.
songs about pimping. Too many songs about just getting high. Too many songs about money. There's too many songs about the end of the world, and too many people who listen. Too many songs about how God closed his eyes, and not enough songs about love. There's not enough songs about love in the world. There's not enough songs about love. Deep in the ghetto, there's kids being shot down. No need to glorify murder. And in suburbia, heroin lives. No need to bring up the needles. Be true to yourself, never waver in that. Always be good to your brother. Too many's gone by the death of a friend, and not enough songs about love. There's not enough songs about love in the world. There's not enough songs about love. There's not enough songs about love in the world. There's not enough songs about love. Now it appears that I have your attention. Wish we could all realize there's too many songs about thousands of lies, and not enough songs about love. There's not enough songs of love in the world. There's not enough songs about love. There's not enough songs of love in the world. There's not enough songs about love.
It's funny. That last sample actually says, "You're an asshole." I can be. I'm having some dropouts, and I don't know why. At least from my end, I see that it's happening. So it's been really foggy out today and rainy. So if it drops out, it's not my fault. I'm doing the best I can. Looks good now, but before, I know we had a few dropouts. It's like on and off. I don't know if I can do anything about it at this point. Are you guys experiencing that too, or is it just me? Which sucks because I have a lot of cool stuff to play. So, yeah, radio static. I still am. I'm still convinced that it's going to sound very conspiracy theory here, and I'm sorry. But I'm still convinced that the industry at large doesn't care if the kids that put out this kind of stuff have influence over younger kids who listen to this kind of stuff and then they get thrown in jail. I really do not think that anybody cares about that stuff. So long as, you know, certain aspects of society are in check, you can have this other stuff going on. So that's what was my reaction. I didn't like it. And I still don't like it. It's not that I'm not prissy, or I don't know if that's the right word. You know what I mean? I'm okay with songs about protest and, you know, down with the man or whatever it is you want to talk about. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with any kind of subversive lyrics. It's just the ones where the only way to make it in life is through drugs, and the way that you talk to women or look at women is as objects, that kind of thing. It doesn't resonate with me. So that was my reaction to it. So someone said on YouTube, the industry cares about Instagram models. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I believe that. But the more subversive the thing is, what people don't realize is it is like a cog in a wheel. In fact, I'm going to talk about that too. Cogs in a wheel. You realize that we're all cogs in a wheel. For example, I was listening to a phone conversation earlier and talk about polarization. So I'm going to explain it like this, and I hope I don't piss anyone off. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm also not a Biden supporter. I'm not blue and I'm not red, because I think one is senile and the other one's fucking crazy. So why aren't there any more choices? Are you going to tell me that no American's going to step up and be a good candidate? We only get two choices. It's this or that. And to me, this is where the problem stems from, because there isn't diversity in all levels of government, meaning more green people, you know, people that are thinking consciously about the environment, who may be Republican on some issues, but Democratic on another. What do they call those guys? Libertarians, you know, that type of thing. Why don't we get more candidates? Why is it that when I turn on the news, I only have NBC on one side and Fox on the other? They say red, they say blue. They say red, they say blue. Where's green, yellow, brown, purple? Where are my choices? And what I always try to push in people, so if you want to hear my politics, probably you don't, you can shut off now, is that you should be a culture of one, meaning you decide. You get to decide, what do I want my society to look like? It may not look anything like what America is today. It may not be red and it may not be blue. It might be somewhere in between, or it might be something completely different. And maybe it needs to be something completely different. Now, I'm not saying let's go to communism. I'm not saying that either. But there's always this polarization that every time some decision has to be made, it's one or the other. You know, like recently in the news, I heard, you know, let's defund the police. I don't think that's the right solution. I honestly don't. I'm pissed off as hell as to what's happening out there. But defunding the police isn't the obvious thing to do, at least not to me. So that's not right. Better training for them? Sure. Better psychological profiling of where they come from, what their beliefs are. If the guy was in the KKK for 10 years, should he be on the police force? I don't think so. You know, things like that. You need to talk about it. And I feel that it's always these black and white issues. And by that, I mean polarization issues. And it's never that way. It's always going to be something that's a shade of gray, some gray area. You know what I mean? So lately, I've been on the vote kick. So when I say vote, I'm not saying go vote for Trump, and I'm not saying go vote for Biden either. I'm saying go vote for what you believe in, because I would really be interested to see what would happen if there was a third candidate on that ballot and everyone voted for him, would we actually put him in office? Would it happen? Or would some weird thing occur where that person couldn't take office? That's an interesting question to have. What if you had an alternate candidate and he won? Would he take office? Are we that free? Those are questions that I have. Okay? So, yeah, I'm in that mode. So I'm going to play a song from the diary. You knew it was going to be one of these kind of shows, right? So I'm going to play a song from the diary, and then I'm going to tell you where it came from, which is really going to blow your mind. Try to pay attention to the first verse of this song, and then I'll explain the chorus, because this got a lot of flack, this particular song. I got a lot of funky comments about this song when it first came out.
Cycles all around. The Delta 2030 is on the ground. Depression, regression, feels like the dream's been sold out. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. Mother watches her son die on TV. The satellite feeds war like an enemy. Who won the Oscars and why should you care less? Talk about the lost one, blood is spared. I see it, I breathe it, the death and decay. Following the footsteps of atomic cafe. Freedom is imagined, why should you care when they come down for you? A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. I am the enemy. I'm not on TV, but I know how they pull the strings. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. Communication, the revolution. Communication, the revolution. Communication, the revolution starts today.
The double headset is coming. I need it for this next bit. 2 headsets, star beanie, black and white suit, and a song about shooting up your own satellite and beaming down to the world what you really want to say. That's what I was trying to imply there. But in the opening line, I mentioned something, and I actually got it wrong. I say Deltron 2030. It's actually Deltron 3030. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Steve, you don't count because you already know. Well, that song was directly influenced by this song, and I'm going to play it.
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I want to make a super virus strong enough to cause blackouts in every single metropolis. Cause they don't want to unify us, so fuck it. Total anarchy and can't nobody stop us. You see, late in the evening, fucked up on my computer and my mind starts roaming. I create like a heathen. The first cycles of this virus like a sin through a modem. Infiltration hit your station. No Microsoft or enhanced DOS will impede. Society thinks they're safe when bingo, hard drive crashes from the rending. A lot of hackers tried viruses before. Vaporize your text like so much whiteout. I want it where file replication is a chore. Lights out, shut down entire White House. I don't want just a bug that could be corrected. I'm erecting immaculate design. Break the nation down section by section. Even to the greatest minds, it's impossible to find. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
We have already planned. The plan is programmed into every one of my 1,000 robots. We will not hesitate. We will destroy the Homo sapien. Please stay where you are.
I'm making some shit in my basement. Let me do it to him. Don't tell him no. Love you.
I wanna develop a super virus, better by far than that old Y2K. This is 3030, the time of global unification. Break right through they terminals, burn them all, slaves to silicon. Corrupt politicians with leaders and their keywords. FBI and spies stealing bombs, dissipate their plans in their face and catch the fever. Everybody loot the stores, get your canned goods. Even space stations are having a hard time. Peacekeepers seek to take our manhood, which results in the form of global apartheid. Ghettos are trash dumps with gas pumps, exploded and burnt out since before the Great Union. The last punks walk around like mass monks, ready to manipulate the database or break through them. Human rights come in 100th place. Mass production has always been number one. New Earth has become a repugnant place, so it's time to spread the fear that's fun to some.
Too long have we tried to extend our glorious empire out to the stars, only to be driven back.
I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
Yeah, so that's where the song that I played earlier came from. It came from that song. Dave brought it over, and I was introduced to Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and Dan the Automator, Kid Koala, Deltron 3030, and all the underground hip hop, and that's when I fell in love with hip hop again. That's when I started to listen to different points of view. And slowly, in some odd ways, it infiltrated into abox territory. It still did to this day. You know, you'll hear scratching on certain songs, and even as well, I'll get into that story when we get to it. But you know, some of what it said, obviously I don't agree with, but it's talking about actually taking down a corporation that takes over the whole world. And this is supposedly 3030, by the way, and now it's 2020. He was off by, what, 100 years? So Ooh, someone said I talked to Kid Koala in person. Cool. I wish I could meet him. I would meet him. I would do a collab with those guys any day. So yeah, like that's the kind of stuff I was getting into, and it obviously had an influence on in different ways. Obviously, it's not overt. It's a very covert influence, but it's in there. Started listening to more Beastie Boys, which is different. You know, obviously it's a white group, but it doesn't matter. Because that part of it, really, it doesn't matter to me. What mattered was that certain aspects of this resonated with me. And I think that we can all learn from all the different cultures, not just by being part of those cultures, but by understanding that it's the differences of those cultures that make the human race interesting. And this is where I think things go awry, is that everyone thinks, no, it has to be this certain status quo. And judging from some of the protests, and by the way, I'm saying protests, I'm not saying rioting. I do not condone the burning of buildings or looting or anything like that. That's not what I consider a protest, because I feel that that actually causes more damage and adds to the stereotypes that people have. So to me, that part, I don't think that speaks to the whole segment of the population that wants change. I think that just speaks to opportunists from all sides. So I don't, so I don't condone the violence part. But I understand the idea that all of us getting together, marching on all those city halls and demanding change, there has to be change. There really does. It's wrong that police brutality has gotten to a point where it's really unchecked. And it's not just limited to blacks. I saw on the news today that in Buffalo, an old man was knocked down. I don't know if any of you saw that, but an old man was knocked down, straight up knocked down by the police. He hit his head, he's bleeding, and they're not letting other officers come to his aid. That doesn't sound like serve and protect. So to me, that's the kind of thing that we're trying to stop by protesting. That kind of thing. It's not strictly, I don't think it's strictly a black and white thing. I really don't. And I have a story to tell about that too. So, the year that I wrote Communication Derevolution and the diary stuff, I used to live in Fullerton. And I didn't do any of the research, so I can't go back and find the actual case and name to trust that what I'm telling you is the truth. You can look for it yourself. But in the 2000s, there were these Fullerton cops that basically beat up a homeless kid who was he was a bit mentally ill. He was pretty harmless, but they beat him up and they killed him. Okay? This was in Fullerton where I lived. And they were not arrested. They were not reprimanded. I mean, I think they were suspended, but that was it. Like the whole case was literally just thrown under. And I want to say that it was about 2 weeks after that happened. I was taking buses to go home. I had 2 buses to take. I get off the bus. I'm walking to the corner to basically look at the time and see when my next bus is coming. And suddenly, cop car pulls up. 2 policemen get out, and they start asking me questions. Where are you going? What are you doing? And I'm trying to be, first of all, I'll admit it, I'm scared because I don't know what the hell's going on. Suddenly I'm surrounded and, one of them's talking to me. The other one is saying things like, ask the perp several questions. If he tries this, do this. If he doesn't do this, do this. And I'm like, what the hell? Are you training him on me? Is this what's happening right now? So I'm standing there trying to cooperate, and one of them says, what do you have in your bag? Which I can't even show you. People, hold on. I will show you. I've toured with this backpack, this same backpack, for I think now 10 years. Okay? So I've toured with this backpack for 10 years. So I'm standing there with my backpack, and they're like, "What's in your backpack?" And I'm like, "It's my computer, a notebook, a couple of pens, and some drawing stuff." And they're like, "We want to look through your backpack." And I'm like, "You can definitely look through my backpack." Now notice, I did tell them my computer's in the backpack. The minute I hand over the backpack, he drops it on the ground. Just like that. Drops it on the ground. So obviously I'm upset, because obviously the music stuff I'm working on is in there. My drawings are in there. Work I'm doing on the side is in there, because I was doing a video for a company at the time. And I'm like, I told you my work is in there. And I could see the tone change. Like they wanted me to do something. And I was really mad, but I'm really scared, because I'm now faced with two dudes who have guns, and I've done nothing wrong. And so there I am, standing there. They give me back my backpack, and they're like, "So what are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "I'm waiting for this next bus. It's supposed to be here any second." Guess what? Here comes the bus. And I'm like, "Officer, look, is there anything else you want to ask me? My bus is right there. I got to take it." He says, "No, we want to keep you here because we need to talk some more." Once the bus was gone, he says, "Now you can go." You know, I had to walk home that night. I actually had to walk home for another hour or so, because they just decided to do what they did. And so I've seen that happen. So, and that's to me. So I can't imagine to people that they profile because of the way they're dressed or the way they look or the color of their skin. I think it's worse. So that kind of stuff isn't about serve and protect. And I know cops. I have friends that are, and they're not like that. But there is a segment that's in there that is like that. And I think we need to weed them out. So I think by voting out the people that support those unions that they have that keep them from getting fired when people report on them, those unions got to go. And any elected official who doesn't do anything about it, they got to be let go, or you vote them out. I think that's the right solution. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that that what happened to me was isolated? I don't think so. I actually don't think so. So, you know, but I want to say this because it's important to say. I'm not saying we shouldn't have police. I'm not saying we should defund the police, because that's retarded. Obviously, if there's a crime being committed, you're going to call the cops and you want them to show up and you want them to do the right thing. I get that. On the other hand, there's these unions that the police are part of that really make it difficult for them to get fired when they do the wrong thing. So in some of these cases, and I'm going to guess, because this is a guess, not based on a fact, but my guess is that the unions play a big part whether an officer gets charged or discharged from a position when there's a complaint against him. So we need to look at those unions and what they stand for, because there's stuff that doesn't. We need reform, and we need to ask more questions about this. So that's one of my little segments for the evening. We just need to be better, man. That's all. We need to be better to each other. That's the bottom line. So, you're like, why is he talking about this stuff? I get enough of it on the news. I get it. But if you're like me, man, I stayed glued to the TV for like the last 4 days. I wasn't even going to do this show because I almost don't want to know. I don't want to know what's happening, but at the same time, I'm as curious as anyone else as to what is going on out there. You know what I mean? So it is tough. But it did happen to me. So, and to tell you another funny story that just goes to show you how things are. I remember on another occasion waiting for the bus, And they had this guy down on the grass. And they were basically like, I guess they tackled him to the ground and they had him there. And they're talking to him and all this stuff. The bus comes. They let him go. And he gets on the bus and, I couldn't help it. I wanted to talk to him about it. So I'm that guy, I sit down. I'm like, dude, what happened to you? What was going on out there? He says, well, there was a gang fight and someone got stabbed. I'm like, oh shit. And so they were like profiling you? He says, no, the dumbasses let me go. I was the guy that did it. That goes to show you that even when they do their job, they're not even doing it right sometimes. So I was talking to the guy that was guilty. So like some of the stuff that goes on is just exasperating to me. And today when I saw that footage of from Buffalo, God, that really pissed me off, man. I think that really just pissed me off. The guy was like 75 years old. You see one officer shove him to the ground. The guy falls. This is today or yesterday. He hits his head. He's bleeding. And they're not letting any of the other officers help him. To me, that's like not serve and protect. That's just not the way it goes. I don't care what city you're living in, what country you're living in. It's not the right way, man. It's just not. I don't know how to go from this to the next song now. That's funny. I can't repeat what you said on Facebook, but that is funny. You know who you are. Oh my God, that's funny. But, again, destruction and burning things, that also does not help because it doesn't solve the problem either. It just creates more issues between people. It's not the right way. There are two words that everyone should learn. And I know I'm not talking to the older generation because you guys know this. But if any of the younger generation are listening, these are the two words you really need to know. I'm going to add a third maybe. But it's vote, right? Learn to vote. You can vote in and out anyone you don't want in office. And I'm not talking just president. I'm talking from the ground up. Police chief, comptroller, whoever you want. Know your candidate, vote him in, vote him out. So that's one thing, vote. And the other is, where do they get their money from? Who's funding people? Boycott. That's the other nice word. You see a corporation that's putting money into a lot of things that are not quite, I'm going to say the word kosher. In other words, shady stuff's going on. Boycott the corporation. Don't buy their shit. When you don't buy their shit, they can't stay in business. Tell other people to vote and not buy their shit. Then you'll see a little bit of a change because everyone likes this. So the minute you stop buying, the minute you start, voting out people, hopefully you get better people in office. We can drain the swamp. We don't need someone to do it for us. We can do it. At least that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yes, we are living in oblivion. Yes, we are. All right, I'm going to play a demo. Maybe.
So a little boy grows up and asks, what is it worth to us all? What is it worth to us all?
So that was the Worth demo, which you may think, oh, what does that have to do with anything? Well, that was one of the first songs that I started to experiment with hip-hop beats. And it's more, I think it's more prevalent in this version than the one that's on the album. You can tell it has a bit more of a funk. So anyway, that's why I played that one tonight. But so yeah, so another, let's see. So you know that I was living in Fullerton also at the time of the Rodney King riots. So of course that was something that was going on in 1992. And I got to see that firsthand. And we had a show in Chicago that very same weekend. So we were flying out as the riots were happening, and we got to Chicago. And it's funny because I remember that when we got there, there was all this weird tension in the air, which I'm sure it's like magnified times 10 now because every single city is going through this. So obviously, it's a tough thing. The only thing I can tell you is, from here on end, you know, our world is changing in really, really crazy ways, man. Think about all the things that have happened. So I'm going to name off a few. And no, I didn't even make notes. I'm going from memory. Did you know that I think it was 3 weeks ago, the Pentagon released classified UFO videos? Sounds funny, right? But they actually released real classified, formally classified UFO videos saying, yeah, these are UFOs. We don't know what they are, and we couldn't figure out, and we couldn't catch them. But we have them on our radar, and we see them on our planes. And, you know, they showed this. So that was going on. We're in the middle of a pandemic, which we don't know what escalation is going to, you know, it's going to take, considering the fact that everyone's, you know, protesting all over the world. So we're not sure what this is going to do to phase 2. So there's that. And then this, you know, this other stuff that's going on. It's just insane. So is it any wonder that all of us are stressed out with anxiety? Like, I can't imagine what some of you must be going through. I know that it messes me up. So, yeah. So Anders on Facebook says, we're not alone. You're right. We are not alone. I thought you were talking about something else. I think you're talking about aliens. No, we're not alone. But what would be funny is that, like, I don't know if it would be funny, but here we are, like, with all this stuff going on, and then, you know, a ship comes down. I'm feeling like that's it. That's the last, like, we're on this last finale of some weird show we're all in, and this is the end all finale. You know, like, what the F? You know, like, what's going to happen next to mess up all our senses? Hence this song. If I got it right. Nope. I could do a remix.
My senses have awakened once again. Collectively they seek out to defend all the things that I have been before. Filter all the past wounds through my door. What can I do? What can I say? Perhaps you think I've gone and lost my way. I used to think like long ago. All dreams must end, how could I be so wrong? I was draped in closure, you gave me a whisper. Took me in from shadows to absorb the tragic. I was out of focus, you have opened my eyes. I was just illusion, you have sculpted new ways. Inside a soul real, with your senses. To lose my senses was a sin, where I had none, you had six.
Oh. I like this. I really like this camera. Oh my god. I did okay today setting this one up. Look at this. Whoa. That's nice. Okay, cool. I'll have to do that again. So, yeah. So, meanwhile, in other news, not related to murder hornets and UFOs, the current demonstrations and the pandemic and the fact that they discovered a parallel universe that runs backwards in time. Besides all that, I have been thank you, Robert. Thank you. Thank you, by the way, all of you. I'm watching all the names. It's like so many from so many different places. I'm loving it. Sorry that I'm, I stop to read and then I get lost in it. So yeah, the studio is I'm gonna rebuild it this weekend again. I'm still not satisfied. So I'm going to gut it out and then start all over. So by next week, it should look a little different. We'll see what happens. We'll see if I can get it done in a week, but it's gonna be a big project since I'm stuck indoors anyway. Well, not so much. They reopened certain things today. Funny story. I went to my first Starbucks today. The Seattle people are like, why? Because we don't have we don't have as many cool coffee shops as you guys do. At least not in Long Beach. I shouldn't say that because we do have some really good ones, but they're all closed. But anyway, I went to Starbucks and it looked like I was in some weird movie. All the chairs were gone. All the tables were gone. It was like these really tiny squares that says stand here. And they're all 6 feet apart. And then you order and everyone's behind glass. And you feel like you're some sort, like you have the cooties. They're the ones that are safe, but you have the cooties. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I was like, so I since they were behind glass, I pulled my mask down. I'm like, no, keep your mask on, sir. I'm like, oh, shit. So, yeah, that was my first Starbucks experience since we're open. So, remember when I was telling you that story about the cops and me getting on the bus, and then meeting the guy that was a criminal on the bus and all that stuff? So I have a third story about, I got a lot of stories about the bus when I used to take the bus. You can't help but not have, you can't. What? Hold on. I just read something that's out of this world. So Rick on Facebook just said, Facebook just interrupted me watching your live cast. I got a message pop up that said that you have a problem with feeling injustice and you can talk to someone at this number, and there was an 800 number. After 3 seconds, it disappeared and my Facebook froze. What the? Had to close out Facebook and restart it. Well, here's the funny thing about that. So I put a flyer up today that mentioned the C virus word. And then like 10 seconds later, I got a message that said, since you mentioned the word C, you know what word I'm talking about. Since you mentioned that word in your message, we're going to put a link down here that takes people to the CDC. See what I mean about polarization? Look, man, if I want information, I'll Google it. If I don't want to use Google, I'll use some other, search engine. There are plenty of them. I don't need to have a link to the CDC every single time I want to talk about something. That feels so like, is it just me, or is this shit starting to bug you too? Because it's bugging the shit out of me now. You ever hear of a search engine called DuckDuckGo? I bet you that I get silence for this. There's a search engine called DuckDuckGo. If you've never used it, it's fantastic, and it doesn't track you, and you can search things forever. And while I'm at it, in my subversive nature, I will bring out that you can download the Tor browser, and then surf the web any way you like in any country you like, and not be tracked either, hopefully. So you don't have to use all the tools that they give us, Although I'm grateful that I'm here talking to you. Watch, I'm going to get deplatformed just for saying that. It's like, and see, that's what I'm talking about. When did this start that we can't say things, or talk about stuff? It's ridiculous. Someone said the Martians might do better than we did. Yeah, I bet you they could. I'm sure that they could teach us a thing or two. Yeah, someone said, my friend is a hardcore DuckDuckGo proponent. Yeah, it's fantastic. I've used it many times. I love it. It's very clean and simple, and it finds all the things I want to find. So it's not that I have anything against Google per se. I don't. But it's one of those things where when it starts to be a bit too much, it's like, okay, switching over to DuckDuckGo now. Maybe I'm not going to use Chrome. It's like, dude, chill. So, yeah. Someone wrote from YouTube, the best messaging app for privacy is Signal. Yeah, I don't do a lot of chat. I don't really do that much chatting anymore. Once in a blue moon, I'll do it, but not much. But yeah. So it's getting weird, But so yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, the bus. So I told you the story about how when I got off the bus, I got accosted by 2 cops. I told you the story about how when I got on a bus, the guy that the cops were accosting was actually a criminal and they let him go. And so then there's the third time that I was on the bus, which was, I got a lot of stories about the bus, believe me. the third story that I have about the bus was that one day I got on the bus and I'm sitting there writing in my notebook, and this preacher guy, and I mean, he was in full on Catholic regalia. You know what I mean? He's got the whole, like, you could tell he was a priest. He's on the bus. He sits down next to me, says, "You can get off drugs." And I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" He goes, "I understand what you're going through right now. You need to get off those drugs. You need to stop taking those drugs. Heroin is bad for you, blah, 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 blah." And he's going off. And I was like, "Sir, I would just like to get back to my writing now." And he's like, "You know, if you keep listening to that devil music and writing down those lyrics, you're just going to, go to hell." And like all these weird things. And I finally got pissed off. And I'm like, "Listen, man, this is my diary. Can't I just sit down on the bus and write in my damn book and not have you bug me? Like, I haven't taken drugs. I'm like, the worst drug I ever had was beer. And even that I don't do really well. So why the F don't you leave me alone and let me get back to my writing?" That's the bus. Or that was the bus. Oh, I could go on about the bus, but anyway, so because of the bus, I wrote this song. But the funny thing about this song is it also talks about not being able to go out. So I think it's apropos for the, staying at home stuff. So this song is also from the diary. It's not an Anything Box song, but it is what it is.
Round up on a Sunday night, half of my friends said it wasn't right. Come on, just get out, come with us, shut it out. All you need is some energy, grab a bit of tea and some therapy. This is what my life is like, so ride a bus for an hour a day, write a little prayer in a book I'll take with me to get out all the words in my head. All I want is the energy, missing all my friends and the company. All the while there's something out there. This is what my life is like, so what? All day and always dreaming of Sundays. Everyone is going out tonight. My will is good, of this I'm sure. Misunderstood in my ways. All day and always dreaming of Sundays. Everyone is going out. Everyone is going out. Everyone is going out. Everyone is going out. This is what my life is like. So what? So what?
Ooh, I forgot it has that ending. That's because it's not the version that's on the record. So someone wrote, "I like your where is it? God, the comments go so fast because I'm on so many different places that I get to read it for a split second and it's gone. Hold on, let me see if I can find this one. It was funny. That's some funny shit I'm reading here. By the way, I will try to answer all your comments. It's harder to answer all of them as it's happening, but someone said, God, I lost it. Oh, so Valerie from Facebook says, "What did the man say in response? Did he shut up?" Yeah, he finally shut up, but then he actually apologized. I will say that. He apologized because he realized that he'd made a judgment call and he shouldn't have made that judgment call. So he was cool after that. But I've got a million bus stories, I'm telling you. I could write a book on just the bus because I used to observe people all the time and the strangest shit used to happen. All I can say is there's this little area and anyone who lives in Southern California will know what I'm talking about. There's this funny area between Garden Grove And just as you're getting to, oh God, what's the name of that town? Forget the name of the town, but it's Beach Boulevard, basically. It's this weird little area, and all sorts of mayhem would happen in just that area of the bus, like all the time. Another one came into my head, so I got to tell it now. But yeah, these two guys had a knife fight on the bus. The bus driver pulls over the bus, kicks both of them out, and says, "Good riddance," and everybody clapped. Oh my God. So, yeah, I guess I make devil music. I don't know. Wasn't rock and roll always called devil music? Anything that makes you shake your butt? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, so why is this so noisy today? It's my handling of it. Hold on. Maybe I shouldn't handle it. Better? Maybe? Yeah, I guess I can lean in. That way it's not so noisy all the time. So yeah, it's funny because I was going to do a completely different set. And I had two stories I wanted to tell you guys that, because I like telling you the stories that are like out there that I probably wouldn't do in an interview. Because, you know, this way you can really know how nuts I am. But, well, at least I'm not being boring, right? I hope I'm not being boring. I'm not being boring. So there's two songs I'm going to play that are adequate for the situations at hand, but they also have an air of mystery to them because they both came from dreams. So, and this is the funny thing is, I've written some cool ones when this happens, but you'd think I'd keep a notebook next to the bed so that when I woke up, I would just write down, you know, the dream. And I don't, but I should, because there's been some really good stuff that happens when I'm dreaming. So, but anyway. So I'm going to tell you, this is technically dream number one. So one night I had a dream that I had done some kind of good deed. I don't remember what the good deed was, but it had something to do with two people that hadn't talked to each other for a long time. Somehow I had made it so that they would talk to each other. This is in the dream. And as a reward, this is going to sound really crazy. I'm sorry. As a reward, I heard a voice and I said, "Is this God?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "You did good. So you get to choose what you want and I will grant it to you." And so I said, "Can you make me time travel back to the 1960s so I can watch the Beatles rehearse?" This was my dream. And he's like, "Yes, of course." So suddenly I'm in this really weird rehearsal hall in San Francisco where the Beatles are going to play their last concert, which is the one at Candlestick Park. And I'm in this little hall and I get to meet them, right? So I'm talking to them and it's a really funny dream because I meet Paul McCartney and I basically tell, this is going to suck because one day I'm going to meet Paul McCartney and I'll have to tell him this dream or he's going to hear about it and then he's not going to want to talk to me. So this is the risk I'm taking here. But basically I tell Paul McCartney, "Look, I'm a time traveler. I got sent back here because I did a good deed, so I get to watch you guys rehearse." He goes, "Oh, okay, right." In that accent, you know. And I can't believe I'm telling you this. But there's a reason. There's a reason. So I basically get to meet all the Beatles. And, you know, Paul goes over to John and says, "Hey, John, get a load of him. He says, you know, he's a time traveler, you know." And so, you know, John's, "Oh, so you're a time traveler, eh?" And I'm like, yes. I guess, you know, this is probably a dream, but apparently I was sent back here and I get to watch you guys rehearse. So they start jamming and I'm playing along because I'm there. And it's the funniest thing in the world. I'm thrilled to death. And then when the whole thing's over, or just before I woke up, John Lennon comes up to me and he's like, so if you're from the future, what happens to me? And I was like, because, you know, you don't want to tell him. You don't want to tell him he's going to get shot, right? So that's not what you want to say. But it was so real. So I am fumbling for the words, and he says something to me, and he goes, don't tell me. The truth is what it is. Just don't tell me. The truth is what it is. And when I woke up, I was electrified with this dream. I thought I was on top of the world. I remembered every detail, ran down to the studio, and this was the song that came out of it.
You will never understand me, and I will explain. I was drowning in the water, and I'm not the same. I didn't want to have to settle down. I didn't want to save the world. I was born across the ocean, 1,000 miles in the southern lands. So I'll tell you what I know. I saw a white room and I am sure everything seemed to be okay, 'cause I live to tell the tale someday. All I wanna do is settle down, and I wanna save the world. I was born across the ocean, where I looked up at the stars. I can see them in my dreams, like a mirror still. All the swirling galaxies tell me truth exists. You will never understand me, that's why I'm alone. I was drowning in a lake a long, long time ago. I had a dream about John Lennon. He told me truth is what it is. I was born across the ocean, where the lonely people live. You will never understand me, that's why I'm alone. I was drowning in a lake a long, long time ago. Then I started drawing pictures, started making songs, trying real hard to find an answer. Hope it comes along. I hope it comes along. I hope it comes along. This is a story of my life. When I was 12, it is so true. I thought I would die, but I lived. Everything seemed to be okay, but all the world is facing up. Everything is so fucked up, but now I think that I'm okay, 'cause you're right here with me today, today.
Yeah. So that's the song I wrote after I met John Lennon in a dream. And because there's some people from Argentina in the audience, when I say I was born across the ocean, I'm talking about Rosario, where I was born. Which reminds me of another thing that I wanted to say about this whole thing between black and white and all those shades in between. This is going to sound so un-PC, so you might want to go back to the 8 o'clock when I gave you that I don't like to say, oh God, this is terrible. Anyway, I say black. I don't say African American, okay? I say black people because I grew up in a place where everybody said black people. I grew up around black people. They call themselves black people. So I say black people. I don't say African Americans because I think that's like a weird PC term that got made up. Because black is not necessarily from Africa. It could be Jamaican. It could be, you know, West Indies. So, or it could be my grandfather. Yes, my grandfather was black. He was black from Argentina, black. And he married a very white woman with blonde hair, and he was very black. I remember coming home from school and telling my grandfather that I didn't know what a spick was because someone had called me that, and I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what does that mean? And in his very, very good way, and excuse my French people that won't understand what the hell I'm saying here, in his very own way says, los negros tenemos problemas en todos lados. En cualquier lugar que voy, soy negro. So if you understand what I just said, then you understand that I do know a little bit about the things that go on with racial tensions. My grandfather was black. And he was also really big and could destroy things, so I don't think he had that much problem, but I'm 5'4", and I was really thin and wiry when I was in high school. But that didn't stop me from being my own person, so. Which is what led to this story. Oh my God, I'm going crazy here. Oh my God. So, this is another dream that I had once. This is another one of the ones I really love. But this one was really cool because while the other dream, I met John Lennon in my dream and then I wrote a song. In this case, I actually wrote the song with the person and it was awesome. So I had this dream that I was in Seattle. Yes, Seattle. And this was a long time ago. And I had a dream that I was in Seattle and that I was going to go see Nirvana. And I was backstage and I got to meet Kurt Cobain. And this didn't really happen in real life as a dream, but it happened so real in my dream that it affected me, right? So I'm having this dream. I'm talking to him and he's really cool. And we're just exchanging ideas back and forth about stuff. And he picks up a guitar and he goes, I was working on this. And he does this little riff. And I was like, hey, that's really good. Can I have that riff? Can I use it? And he's like, yeah, of course, take it. So I know it sounds crazy, but I woke up, I remembered the riff, ran to the studio, played the guitar, and I was like, oh my God, I remember the riff. I remember the riff. So I had to make a sample, and I you know, because I'm not the best guitar player in the world. So I made the sample. I mic'd up the guitar. I remember that. I worked on all the effects, and I had everything ready. And the song, as I remembered it from the dream, just basically came together. And, you know, it's what it is. So this is also about aliens, too. Gonna read.
In the atmosphere, I once saw a light I could not explain, and it haunts me now. Do you reason why all this emptiness above our head is white? When we're lying still, why do we know less than our loneliness? Even the floors cannot shake you out. sound so illogical? Or is it a whim? Tell me who you are, so we may begin to have a change of mind. Hey, you with blue hair, be who you wanna be. Hey, you with your gun, pray how you wanna pray. Hey, you with brown eyes, say what you wanna say. Then identify yourself. Identify yourself. I found the truth somehow. I want to show you how. The clouds are sweeping through. I will remember you. Hey, you with blue hair, be who you wanna be. Hey, you with your gun, pray how you wanna pray. Hey, you with brown eyes, say what you wanna say. Then identify yourself. Identify yourself. Deep in the atmosphere, a billion miles from here, someone is wondering if there is someone here. Hey, you with blue hair, be who you wanna be. Hey, you with your gun, pray how you wanna pray. Hey, you with brown eyes, say what you wanna say. Then identify yourself. Identify yourself. Identify yourself. Identify yourself.
Identify yourself. Mike was funny. He wrote, yeah, Kurt, am I paying Kurt's estate half of that royalty? I'm like, dead men tell no tales. I don't know. Imagine if that ever went to court, that I'm supposed to pay royalties because the ghost gave me the riff. That would be funny, actually. I would find that funny. So funny. So yeah, it's not the best internet tonight. I don't know what's going on. It's been like that for a while in the last couple of days. I think it's because of the fog and because there's so many helicopters and things going on. I've always had this problem that when jets fly overhead or the helicopters, it does something to the signal. Even though I'm hardwired to the net, it goes out. So we've been really fortunate lately, but for some reason tonight it's like a MF. I don't know. Oh yeah. Mike says, think of how many copies would be sold if it went to court. That would be funny. So I should just publicize that. Kurt Cobain gave me a song that nobody knows about. Never mind that he was dead and it was in a dream. Yeah, I'm sure that would go over well. But see, this is another reason why I brought this up. It's in the lyrics too, but I'm going to say it again because this is the theme. The theme of tonight, if there is one, is be yourself. Be who you want to be. See, you shouldn't identify with, quote, a culture. One of the things that I had growing up, I used to live in Patterson, which obviously Mike knows what Patterson was like then and now. I think that last time that we did a show, Mike was telling the story about how we saw a guy do like a drug transaction right outside our window. And so Patterson was pretty bad. And I went to Kennedy High, which was probably, I'm going to say 70% black, 20% Hispanic, 10% white. And one summer, I went to the high school that they made a movie about in Patterson. Remember the movie Stand By Me, where the guy's got the baseball bat and he walks through the hall with a baseball bat? I actually went to that school for one summer, and I was the only light-colored person in the entire school, and I thought I was going to die. In fact, I want you to imagine what it was like. It was like, I want to say it was 82 or 83. It was probably 83. I had really long hair. I was into Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and things like that. So I had a Pink Floyd shirt on. My hair was down to my butt. And I'm walking through the schoolyard. And the entire schoolyard, everyone was black. And as I'm walking, they all start singing and chanting, "We don't need no education." I thought I was going to die. I literally thought I was going to die. And the principal, the one that Morgan Freeman, he played the part, he actually called me into his office and he said, the most encouraging words you could hear as the only person that was light-skinned with long hair wearing a Pink Floyd shirt: "Son, I can't protect you." Those were his real words. He's like, "I can't protect you, so you better toughen up." That's what was told to me. But you know what's funny? I wound up making friends, and yeah, I got chased a couple of times, but all in all, I got out of it unscathed. I'm here. So, but I'm going to tell you how I think I got out of all the trouble. See, I don't know if this is the right word because it sounds bad. My description of it may sound terrible. But I learned from a teacher in my high school that it's about adaptation. Wherever you are, you just be yourself. If you're really yourself, you can get a lot farther than trying to pander to the place where you're at. So in other words, I just was myself. I made friends. It was fine. And the more people thought I was weird in high school, the weirder I got. So I used to walk around my high school with bright red pants and like my hair all spiked up. I was the only one that did that. And on my boombox, I would play soft cell. That was not popular at all. I would get laughed at all the time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the more you are yourself, the easier it is for you to deal with the world on your own terms because you're comfortable with you. If you ascribe to the isms of society, meaning you have to look this way, dress this way to be part of this particular culture, you're already in trouble because you're not going to fit in. You know you're not going to fit in. And if you're trying to fit in, you're aware that you're trying to fit in. So therefore, that doesn't work either. So the best thing you can do is be yourself. And by being yourself, people see that. And then, you do all right. You do all right. It's tough. What's that saying? It's very lonely at the top. But hey, if you're your own culture, then you're not stuck on the isms. Because in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, there is no reason why, a white kid shouldn't do rap or a black kid do punk rock or, the two of them get together and start a band called Anythingbox. Yeah, that's true. So the reality is race is an issue that we make as humans. In reality, we're all the same. When we really, really stop and think about it, we're all the same. We all want the same things: a good life, decent job, you want to do something you love, you want to have a good family, you want to have your own house, you want to have your own space. Everybody wants that. I don't think anyone says, "I want to live this way." I don't think so. But there are people that have what I call a victim mentality. And I did get to live that when I was in Patterson. I hope I'm not being overly long-winded when I tell you these stories, but one of the things that I grew up in with Patterson, let's just say it what it is. Patterson was the hood. It was. And I had a lot of good friends, but when I started to study art and when I started to do things that were off the beaten path of what was on the street, my friends that were more or less street kids would be like, you're trying to be like the man. And I'm like, no, I'm not, man. I just want to get the fuck out of here. So I have a problem with what is called street cred, that says you have to be a certain way, behave a certain way. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff, throw it out. There's no place for it. Be who you want to be. If you're a black kid in the worst neighborhood on earth and you want to study, the philosophy of turtles, do it. So, anyway. I don't know what to do. Anyway. So, yeah, people are people. Ooh, someone asked an interesting question. Dwelling Swing 1 from YouTube asks, how do you feel about the depiction of Patterson in the Jim Jarmusch film Patterson? Have no idea. Now I'm going to go look at it and see it. Shoot me a link for the trailer or something. That I would love to see. What, did he treat it bad? By the way, when I'm talking about isms, I mean all isms. When I dressed in black, I wasn't goth enough. Fuck you. I'm not goth enough, so what? When I started to get into synthpop, but I introduced different instruments into it, people were like, you're not synthpop enough. F you, I don't care. I do what I want. I do things my way. I'm not going to just do something because the culture, the genre, the thing asks me to. That's not what I'm about. So that's just me. I got a chip on my shoulder tonight. Oh, you know why? Because of this. So yeah, I think I need to see that movie Patterson now. I didn't know there was a movie made about the town I grew up in. Wow, weird. I'm gonna have to check that out. So as the definition of the Negaverse, yes, from Dark Kingdom and also from Sailor Moon is where the word Negaverse was first introduced to me by my daughter. And so, and she had that, you know, smart aleck answer. I was like, what's the Negaverse? And she said, it's the opposite of the Posiverse. So I was like, okay. I think of it as the upside down. We're living in the upside down right now. If you think about that series, that's where we are. We're in the upside down. So I think I talked to you guys about 1992 when all the Rodney King stuff happened, and you know, we went to Chicago and then we came back, and right after that I started work on Hope. So yeah, someone asked me, no, I can't answer that question. It would age me terribly. So I'm trying to keep it so I still look young, you know. So, but yeah, so, but speaking of Sailor Moon, so I couldn't get into it, couldn't watch it, but then she started watching another anime, and then I got into it, and then whenever it was on TV, we would both sit down and watch it. So that became a thing. So that's how I wound up writing that song. More recently, if you want to know what I've been watching on my Fire Stick, I love watching Dark Shadows. So I've gone back. I actually it's like my comfort thing. So after I finish tonight, after I shut everything down, I'm going to watch Dark Shadows. Because, you know, with everything else that's going on, I really just want to hang out with vampires. That's really what I want to do. So, Dark Shadows. But anyway, after the Rodney King riots happened and I got into the studio and I was working on Hope, I realized that the world was going to go through a big change and it was going to start happening. And this is how... So when I say that certain events influence you, it could be a negative event. So sometimes you have to go through all the negative stuff to find the good stuff. And I know that sounds terrible to say, because I've heard people say it, and sometimes I think, oh, that's so bullshit. But it's not. It's really not. If you think of all the things that you've experienced in your life, and where you're at, and obviously you have to be in a good place, because if you're still in a bad place, then you haven't gotten to that point yet. But if you've gotten to a point where you're like, wow, I love where I'm at right now, where my life is, or where I'm headed, everything that happened to you got you here. So I know that all the things that are going on are pretty crazy, but hopefully they're taking us somewhere. And hopefully it's not an endless spiral downward, but a reorganization of things where things are going to get better. I mean, I want to think so. I will intend it so. So all of us have to sort of intend that, you know? That's all. So this is the song that I wrote when I thought the world was in transition.
Listening to the airwaves, I can hear your Moving in the darkness, I can almost feel you breathe. I detect emotions that I know you can conceive. Will you recognize me when you see me on the stairs? As we are ascending high above the summer air, we'll be happy. We'll be happy. Let's go.
I think I cut it off by accident. I didn't mean to. I was messing around. I was trying to do this, but it didn't work. Oh, nope, it's not working. I'll have to fix that. Oh. Well, what do you know? We're almost there. It's slowly coming to an end, folks. Slowly coming to an end. Yes, I know the internet today is terrible. I think we had like 4 or 5, maybe more, but I can't do anything about it. At least not this time. I'm going to see if maybe I'm going to see that maybe when I rewire a little bit, I might be able to get more juice out of it, but I don't know. It's been weird. Maybe it's the fires burning in the distance. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it's almost over. Look at the time. We're almost at 2 hours. And I have Barnabas to watch. Which is funny to say. I'm going to play a song that I was supposed to have played last time. That is a little bit more of a lift, but it was an ode to my old place. in Patterson. So this is a Patterson. This is like a weird song I wrote about leaving Patterson. I'll play that, and then I'll do the last song, and then we'll say goodnight. Before I play it, I want to tell you something. Pay attention to the end, because one of the things that happens, should I tell him? What do you think? Should I? He says I should tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. All right. He says I should tell you, so I'll tell you. Some of the new things that I want to work on are going to be based more on real electronic, really deep electronic stuff. Really strange is where I'm headed. And one of the things I like about those eras where we can I love the idea of recording and getting the feeling more than I care about how many tracks I do or things like that. So this song is a good example, because I got so into the song that I lost it at the end and I stopped the song. So the song ends because I break down. True story, and you'll hear it. So listen for the end, because it dies right as I'm breaking down. And that's what happens when you record and you put you wear your heart on your sleeve, which is how I feel you should do things. So now I'll play it. Mood lights.
When I shut my eyes to life, it always seems to haunt my mind, struggling with these broken words, suffer like the little child. It's a wondrous life, if only I could ever see. If all the ones I know had ever heard of I had a world under my feet, all the things that I could be. I would leave these open fields, find the treasures out to sea. Yet instead I chose to stay, while my friends just moved away. They became what I could be, and was it all because of me? I have seen so many things, could take a year to count them all. Flowers blooming in the springtime, nightfall brings the rain. The snow that covers every mountain, thunder rattles all my windows. People walk the streets at Christmas, and it fills my ears.
And with that, you lovely people, I bid you good night. Take care of one another. Be good to one another. Be mindful of one another. I would love it if by next week, we're all experiencing much better times. You know, as things open up, get out a little bit more. You know? But like I said, be good to each other. And be strong, because we're going to have to be strong. Okay? So with that, I bid you good night. And I will see you on the next one. I hope I wasn't overly political. But I will end it right there. Good night.